Hi, welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, apart from spitting everywhere and drowning in my own saliva, we're going to be checking out these two, the Zorro and the Apache, both from FTX. Now, why am I so excited to see this one? And a lot of you have been commenting, when are you going to get this video? As one of the big things about these, they're both from the same company, but they're almost the same price. So the Zorro came out first. Now, currently, you can pick up the Zorro for £249 or $316, give or take. Now, the Apache is £259 or $329. So there's basically 15-20 bucks in it. So there's not much in between it. So a lot of you want to know which one of these two is worth getting. And what makes it more interesting is it's not cut and dry. It's not, oh, the Apache's newer, it's just better. So in this episode, we're going to go through all aspects of both cars. We're going to look at all the electronics, the bodies, the wheels, the tires, the running gear. We're going to then take them out and give them a bit of a bash together. And then I'll round it all up of which one I would personally invest my money in. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. Hit it, Charlie. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the looks and the bodies. Now, this is personal choice, but there's a few aspects that I think can lean you towards one or the other. Now, the first thing, when we look at the two cars, obviously I like the orange, so that's why I have both. But you do get choices. You can get the Apache in blue, as well as there is a few different versions of the Zorro body that you can get as well. I think there's another blue one, and there's also like a grey one as well, if I can remember correctly. But they are quite different looking. Now, in the Zorro, you got a full driver's cockpit and all the windows were cut out, and also inside is a full roll cage. Now, it kind of depends whether you like that versus the Apache that has more of a traditional look. When I say traditional, I mean it's a bit more in keeping with what we're seeing from the big manufacturers, like the Traxxas Slash, for instance. Now, on the Zorro, you get an extra spare tire on the back, where on the actual Apache, you don't. The body pins, they're both slot-on body pins, so the only difference between that is the locations and how beefy they are. They've definitely upped how big and how strong the actual body mounts are versus the Zorro, that seems to have, for some strange reason, has them very close together in the middle. Not that I've had an issue with it when I've been driving it and crashing it, but do you think being closer together, obviously it's going to mean it's going to wobble around a little bit more. I do find that the Zorro rear mounting points are a bit of a faff because of where they are, tucked in underneath the wheel versus the Apache. Also, one thing I really like on the Apache is the body pins are tethered, so you don't lose them when you're out in the field changing your batteries. Another aspect of it is the Apache comes with a light bar, and it works really well too. And the biggest one for me is the skid plates across the top of the body. They really do save your body when you're bashing and rolling over, so I like that, and I'm tempted to buy those and fit them on some other cars as well. Another thing that I really like about the Apache is they've cut vent holes in it. These bodies do tend to parachute quite a lot when you're driving them, and it can be a bit of a faff and a pain because you're launching them and then they kind of wander off and roll over. So having two vents cut in the back and one in the front to help lower the pressure that you build up inside when you're jumping them. I can kind of get the idea that that's partly why they did the inside cockpit for the Zorro. So one thing I really like is the internal structure that supports the body on the Zorro. That is brilliant. I really like that. It helps keep it rigid and stop it crushing in. Now I would ideally take that inner structure and put it into this body. Now the Apache bodies aren't that expensive, especially against things like the Slash body, for instance, but having that rigid internal structure really helps save the body. Obviously you can go and get the rock wool tape, and then you can get shoe and do all that kind of stuff to it, but having that roll cage inside just keeps everything a little bit more sturdy. So it's overall is personal choice, but for me, I think the Apache is better looking. Comment below, let me know what you think. What I want you to do is tell me which one is better looking. Stand by the one that you think's the best looking. What do you reckon, Corbs? So me too, I would say that's definitely the better looking one. And I've been asked a few times, could you fit the Apache body on the Zorro? No, not really. Also, another thing I like, this rubber mount at the front, just to gives it a little bit more protection as it's coming down at the front, as well as keep some of the rocks out. That's a nice touch. And to be honest, me personally, it feels like it's a bit more of a upmarket and grown up, if that makes sense, kind of mature product. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. It's a bit more of a mature product. The Zorro does look a little bit more like they're learning what kind of works and what doesn't work, but at the end of the day, it comes down to personal choice. If you like the look of the Zorro, hey, then that's the one for you, right? Anyway, let's take the bodies off and let's get into all the electronics and the chassis. Right, so we've got the tops off, so let's have a look at what you get underneath. Now, there is one caveat. I have actually upgraded the chassis on my Zorro to the alloy one as I cracked the previous plastic one. Now, from a performance point of view, I don't know whether it actually adds a lot. I'm not sure. So let's dive into the electronics aspect of it, and it's not as cut and dry as you think. It's not like they just put better electronics in the newer version. Believe it or not, some things are actually still better on the Zorro. So from the motors point of view, they're both identical. So you've got the 3665 2900 kV in the Apache and the 3665 2900 kV in the Zorro. So the motors themselves are the same, but the ESCs are not. The ESC in the Zorro is 80 amps, where in the Apache it's 60 amps. That's a little bit weird. The Zorro comes with a 2S battery and the Apache comes with a 3S battery. The Zorro's 2S battery is 3200 milliamps and the Apache's 3S battery is 3500 milliamps. So you're running way more power and you get a little bit more in that bucket. The transmitters you get, well, they're pretty much identical. I think out of the two, if I'm nitpicky, I would say the Apache one is better. It's got a battery level on it when you turn it on. Also, it has foam on the actual steering, which makes it feel marginally better quality than what you got for the Zorro. We will do a range test as well when we get outside, because I'm interested to see which one goes the furthest. Now, the first thing you can kind of notice is the size of the bumpers. The bumpers on the Apache are way bigger and a lot more substantial. Basically a lot more what you see on other competitors. If you look at the Zorro ones, they're a lot more weedy, but they haven't really given me any problems and they haven't broken. They flex really well. But when you look at just how much extra beef has been put into the Apache ones, they are much stronger. So it's going to help protect it a lot more. The shocks, well, the shocks on the Zorro are plastic tops and plastic bodies. You get caps that are alloy, but on the Apache, they are full alloy, including the top section. Wheels and tires, definitely an improvement on the Apache. They are much stronger rims. Inside, they are reinforced, as well as the tires are a little bit softer and have got a bit more grip to them. So they just feel a lot better. One aspect that I thought really did stand out was just how much they've improved the actual arms, the ball joints versus the Zorro. If I move the Zorro back and forward, there's a lot of play, where in the front of the Apache, there is not. They've really beefed up the uprights The ball joints at the front are much better, is much more like you see in competitors versus the older one. So that's one I would definitely say really makes me more interested in getting an Apache. Also, the plastic chassis that you get on the Apache feels very substantial. Also, you've got the metal plates at the front and the rear to support it. That is a really nice kind of, makes it feel a lot tougher. Now, one of the downsides, which I prefer on the Zorro, is the battery location. There's a lot more places to fit different sizes of batteries. You could actually modify it quite easily to take different battery sizes, as the battery tray is separate, whereas in the Apache, the battery location is part of the chassis, so that really limits you. Overall, the plastics are much better, so it's definitely an improvement. The arms they're just a little bit better quality, a little bit more chunky, a lot more thicker. So I can see that they've actually thought about it and improved things on that front. The steering slop is a lot better on the Apache. The steering slop that you get on the Zorro is pretty pants, if I'm fair. The whole kind of servo saver adds a lot more slop to it, and even if you tighten it down as much as possible, I'm sure there's an upgrade for that you can actually do, but the Zorro does feel much more substantial. You still get universals on the front and standard dog bones on the rear. One thing I did notice though is the dog bones on the rear of the Zorro are thicker. The ones that you actually get on the Apache do seem really thin. Now, I haven't had any issues myself on bending, but I don't bash my buggies as hard as some of you. One of the big ones that a lot of people are a real fan of with the Zorro is the center diff. This is probably the biggest upgrade versus the Apache, and why a lot of people will still be interested in buying the Zorro over the Apache. The center diff really helps separate what's going on with the front and the rear. Well, you don't get that, you just get a prop shaft that runs straight down. You get a slipper clutch, obviously, but it is not a center diff. So it's a real shame that FTX didn't put a center diff in this, as I think if they did, it would be another big step forward for the Apache over the Zorro. So yeah, again, same with anti-roll bars. The anti-roll bars on the front and rear of the Zorro, whereas you just don't get them on the Apache. As for the hardware, you get Allen key on the Zorro, whereas on the Apache, you're kind of going back to a mixture, but mainly Phillips screws. So that's kind of a step back. It depends on what you like using and depends how much you're going to wrench on it. So I think I've pretty much covered most things. So what we'll do now is we'll fire up the batteries, take them out, give them a blast, see how they run together, and then we'll come back and I'll round up which one I would personally choose. So they're both running on 2S right now, so we're going to do a speed test, but we're going to use this hill to make it a little bit harder. So we're going to go uphill. Oh. Are you ready, guys?
Yeah!
3, 2, 1, go! Well, that was scientific. Let's try that again and see. I think it'll be best of 3. So, best of 3. Are you ready? Same, just straight up the hill. First one to the top of the hill. 3, 2, 1, go! Go! So what do we think? Is that a draw? Oh. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to test how far the range is on these two. Are you ready? Right, let's see how far they go before they cut out. Go! You stopped, and what about the other one? Is that it? You both run out?
I can keep going.
Okay, well turn yours around, Corby.
I don't... Oh.
Hold them both up in the air and you should be able to turn them around. And now turn them, there you go, now bring them back. Okay, so I'm pretty sure from that, even though they're quite far away, so the winner of the distance is the Zorro. It's actually got a further range. And Rebecca's trying to desperately bring back the Apache. Right, for the second time, we're going to attempt a race.
They go round the stick and the rock. Oh, one fell over.
We're going to leave here, go down to that twig, along to the bush over there, along round over here, round this mound and back. Unfortunately, it's a little bit deep over there, so if you go too far, you get stuck. Thus, we're doing a second race. Are we ready? Yes. Set, go! The Zorro's got a lead. It's all to play for. The Apache goes wide. Lap one, we're coming back round and the Zorro looks like it's going to get it. The Apache's catching up, but the Zorro's going to take it. And the Zorro wins. So we swapped cars now, so each person has running a different car. So we're going to do it again to see whether the actual Zorro is faster. Are we ready? Ready. Steady, go! Oh, it's still in it. Bit more aggressive this time round. Oh, the Zorro takes it nice and tight. No, the Apache, sorry. It's all to play for. It's a lot closer.
Oh, you can get around it.
Oh, we got a bit of cheating going on. Go one more lap. Go one more lap. One more lap. They're getting a bit more competitive now. Oh, a bit of cutting going on, a bit of rubbing. And the winner is the Apache. So we're now running on 3S. So we're going to do a speed test to see how we get on 3S. So the idea is we're going to come down here, going to go right up, and we're going to stop up there. So it's going to be the same like we did in the woods. You might want to go back a bit further and give yourself a bit of a run up. Otherwise it's a bit short. You want a longer run up. Right, there we go, that'll do. Are you ready? Ready, steady, go! Well, the Zorro took it. And watch out! Watch out!
I was going to stop it and then it just didn't stop.
Much faster on 3S, aren't they? We're going to do it one more time. Have another go. Ready, steady, go! Whoa! The Zorro is much faster on 3S. Wow, there you go.
So next we're going to do a grip test. The cars have both got to get up the sandy hill as far as they can. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Ready?
Who's on which car?
I'm going on the Zorro first.
Right, okay. Ready, steady, go! Struggling. Gav is now going to have another go on the Apache. Yeah, ready, go! Let's see where he can get up to. Yes, up to the top. Yep, Gav goes first with the Apache. toughness test. I think so. Looks good. Ready.
So one thing we've noticed is the amount of cogging difference between the Zorro and the Apache. So if we launch the Zorro, watch what happens. Go for it. So it's got loads of oomph in it. Now if we take the Apache, go for it. He's stuck. He's actually stuck. So I have to push. If I push, no, it's completely died. The ESC has got it into limp mode because of all the sand. So it's definitely, you're suffering a little bit between the two because they've lowered the ESC ampage.
This one flies, look.
That one's stronger smaller than
Here it comes.
So my roundup of which one should you get? Well, that depends on you. Now, if you're looking for a turnkey solution that you're never going to upgrade, don't want to tinker with, don't want to mess with, just want to give it to a younger child, for instance, so they can just drive it around, and you're never going to invest any more money in it, get the Zorro. It's just a better package. The electronics are just better. That ESC allows it to take more abuse when you're driving it in sand and dirt and up hills. It won't push the electronics that much, whereas the Apache, because they've saved a bit of money and gone for a weaker ESC, it does cut out. It struggles in the sand and the dirt. So that would put me off if you're just going to get it and you just want to drive it and you never want to upgrade it. If, on the other hand, you're looking that maybe down the line, yeah, you would look at upgrading some of the electronics in it, get the Apache. Apart from the ESC, everything else is pretty much just better. It's a better chassis, better arms, better uprights, better bumpers, better looking, personally. But that ESC does let it down, especially when it gets a bit on the rough stuff and it cuts out now and again. The Zorro accelerates faster than the Apache, and that's down to the ESC again, and that is on 2S and 3S. But overall, me personally, I would buy the Apache, and then down the line, 4 or 5 months time, I would save up and I would put a bigger ESC in it. The only problem with that is if you're looking at adding a bit more money to it, for almost the same money, you're starting to look at getting into a 2-wheel drive Slash. So should you spend your money on the Slash instead of the Apache? Well, in a future video, that's what we're going to find out. So thanks very much. Please like and subscribe. See you on the next one.